I'm Dr. Scott Lyons, and you're watching or listening to The Gently Used Human. Have you ever felt like you were living someone else's life, trapped in a narrative that didn't quite fit? Or perhaps you've experienced the transformative power of taking ownership of your story, rewriting the chapters that no longer serve you, and embracing the authentic self that's been waiting to emerge. Good for you! Today, I'm joined by Tara Schuster, a best-selling author, playwright, and accomplished entertainment executive whose journey of self-discovery and healing is as inspiring as it is relatable. Tara's story is one of resilience in confronting childhood neglect and abuse and taking responsibility for her own life through the powerful acts of reparenting and self-care. In this powerful conversation, we'll delve into the importance of accepting and allowing suffering, the transformative power of taking accountability for one's own narrative. Oof, this is a hard one, y'all, but we got it. But this isn't just a story of pain. It's also a story of understanding, forgiveness, and of seeing the underlying pain behind abusive behavior. Tara will share her insights on the process of understanding and forgiving her parents and the profound impact it had on her own healing journey. We'll also explore the practical aspects of self-care, the importance of structure and routine in making life easier, and the need to find one's own point of view, unshackled by limiting beliefs. Tara will encourage us to question our beliefs, to prioritize our values, and to live in alignment with the authentic selves we've uncovered. Join us as we embark on a journey of self-discovery, healing, and the reclamation of our stories. Let's do this, y'all. Tara, welcome to The Gently Used Human. It is such a pleasure to have you. You are iconic, and all my favorite people love you, so that means I love you.
Oh, that's so nice. All my favorite people love you, which means I love you.
Oh, that's the best way to start a podcast.
With love.
Love.
Yeah.
Love. Now, you are a best-selling author, you're a playwright, you're a super accomplished entertainment executive. Tara, what is your favorite swear word?
What a good question. Because there's an obvious answer. I'm just trying to see if it's true. Yeah, it really would be fuck.
It would be fuck.
Mm-hmm. Two of my books,
Yeah.
The only books I've written, feature the word fuck in the title. And I have noticed that I have become more and more sailor-esque every year that goes by. I'm just like cursing more and more, and I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
Did you grow up swearing? Is that like part of your vernacular?
I always just grew up very like slangy, colloquial, like conversational. I don't know. I loved comedy from like a really young age and was always a performer. And comedy, there's just for me something in the off the cuff nature, and you can use slang and colloquialisms and cursing to frame a more complicated idea.
Yeah.
You know, so though I'm cursing with purpose. You know?
Is that the next book? Cursing with Purpose?
Cursing. Yes, it is.
And then just put comma, fuck.
Yeah, cursing, comma, fuck. No, I won't. It would shock me if I wrote a book that had a curse word in the title.
Another one.
Yeah, no. I think two is enough.
I mean, it would be more like, it'd be hotter. It'd be more like controversial to not put fuck in the next title. Because you're fighting against expectation. Yeah. Yes.
And I'm working on a project, and I tell them the title and they're like, where's the fuck? Like, well, I contain multitudes. It doesn't have to be this way.
I mean, what's it like to be known for having fuck in all your titles, though? Like,
not great.
Not great. Oh no.
No, I don't like it. That's why, you know, because so I wrote my first book, Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies, which I actually didn't write it to write a book. I wrote it, you know what I mean? Like I wrote it to save my life.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was not coming from a place of, ooh, you know, it would be fun if I was a self-help author.
Just so everyone knows, it's never fun to write a book.
No, it's not fun. It's a misery. It's a slog. Yeah. And so basically just very long story, very short.
You know
Long,
what? You don't even have
entertaining
to make it
story.
short. You can make it as long as you fucking want.
Thank you for this permission.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a neglectful, psychologically abusive shit show of a household. My parents, they did not have the capacity nor the interest in learning how to parent. And it is important that I say that I was privileged in many, many ways. I ate, there was a roof over my head, but I was not parented. That for me left me feeling like I was worthless. Because, and you probably know this better than anybody from your work, but if you grow up in a house where you're truly not seen and reality is not reflected back to you, and you're unable to have needs. My parents were, one of them very mentally unwell. I would say both of them at the time that I entered the picture were probably like DSM classification, like
shit.
Like true, not just like my mom's crazy, but like she is unwell. And so I couldn't have any needs whatsoever because I was always like walking on eggshells trying to parent my parents from 5, being in my mom's office and trying to make appointments for women to get like gynecological surgeries.
Wow.
I mean, it was wild. But I didn't have parents, so I looked for external validation. So that meant I was really good at work, but bad at life. Always a good student, always hustling for grades. High school, I'm going to take every AP, get all A's. I'm going to get to an Ivy League college. The Ivy League college is going to save my life. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Okay, now I'm going to get a fancy job. Fancy job's going to save my life. Again, no, it didn't. And I lived in a constant state of anxiety and depression that was so overwhelming that I felt like I was both drowning and like my blood was boiling always. The only things I could hear are, you are unlovable, you're worthless, no one cares about you, you're doomed. If you haven't made it yet, you're never going to make it. I was 25 this time that I'm kind of talking about. It was, I really try to like hammer home, it was miserable. It was no way to live. And I didn't have wise mentors I had no mentors. I didn't have parents to ask, like, my life is not a life. What do I do? And I finally just hit rock bottom on my 25th birthday when I drunk dialed my therapist threatening to hurt myself.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And I didn't realize how bad it was until the next morning, when it's interesting. Even so, I pieced it together because I listened to her voicemails from the night before. And it wasn't until I heard that she was scared that I got scared.
Wow.
It was like her tone of voice like woke me up to, oh shit, if I don't save my life, I'm not going to have much more of a life to live. And that's when I realized, okay, I'm really good at work projects. Really, really good. That's what I can do. I'm going to turn this into a work project. What's the first thing I do at work when I have a new thing? I open a Google Doc. I'm going to make a Google Doc that's going to be called a curriculum for self-care / reparenting myself. And it's funny to look back because these were not things. This was 12 years ago. Like, nobody was talking about self-care. Nobody was talking about reparenting. I don't even know how. I feel like the universe gave me those terms because once I had them as anchors, I kind of understood what I needed to do. And I just put in all the questions I had. What are values? What are principles? What are vegetables? Genuinely, what are they? Which one should I be eating?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was like basic as fuck. It was basic, but it was also, there were questions like, is there a God that I can believe in? Because I think my life would be much better that way. Like, I don't believe in this at all. Can I just force myself into believing this? There were much bigger questions there too.
So like reparenting in this way, because that's, it is, it's become such a hot word, buzzword. And I'm not even sure what it means anymore, but I love
Yeah.
that you're starting to define it by literally saying, here's what a parent would offer
Yes.
structurally,
Yes.
fundamentally,
Yes.
philosophically, and I'm going to do that on a fucking Google Doc.
Yes, absolutely. It was, I don't even know what the technical term reparenting would be, but in my mind, what it meant,
Yeah.
was really important because
Uh-huh.
I needed to go back in time,
Yeah.
unlearn some really unhealthy things,
Yeah.
and then learn what a parent, any like a stable parent might have given me.
Yeah.
And it really was, I mean, another way to say it is I'm going to be my own parent,
Yeah.
but I need to go
Yeah.
back in the past and do some of this.
Yeah.
And I did that for 5 years, just observing. I would go to my friends' houses with their parents' houses for dinner, and I would just observe. How do they act? What do they eat? Oh, Swiss Chard is not a European hipster band. It's a leafy green.
Although
You
a
know?
great band too.
Yeah. Is that a band? Did someone turn it into a band?
No.
No, okay, good. You're just going with my okay. I'm like, oh my God, all this time I've been making this joke and it's true.
But do you want to start a band called Swiss Chard?
Why don't we start a band? I will come to Puerto Rico. We will start a band.
What instrument do you play? I can
Guitar.
yodel. Oh, okay, perfect. We're a
yodel,
yodeling guitar group.
But I don't know how to play guitar. I just feel like I could hold a guitar and it would look good on me.
You know what? I've seen enough musical performances in the last 20 years where they were not actually playing either. So I think we're good.
Just a track underneath of us. Track, yeah, just playing. But yeah, I really was, I have to be my own parent.
Yeah.
Did it for 5 years, taking these notes. And at the end of 5 years, I felt like a different person. Really, I felt like an adult, a liberated adult who didn't hate their life anymore. Wow. Yeah. The Google Doc was 600 pages.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm intense as fuck. I'm a very intense person.
So when you say you feel like you were an adult, can you break down for those of us who still don't know what that is?
Yes.
No names.
Absolutely.
No names.
No.
Asking
for
an
a friend.
Asking for myself, not myself, but a friend.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be an adult?
Yeah. I'm glad that you asked this question. I think it's extremely important and not enough people ask it of themselves. It means to have any fucking maturity and responsibility for your life. To me, that's the main thing is, do you take responsibility for your life? Do you own your own story and then live a life working with what happened and where you want to go? Because for me, what was very childish and immature was that for the longest time, I didn't want to deal with what happened to me because I thought I, quote unquote, should be better. Like, I didn't have the worst childhood in the history of man. So I really don't have any right to be as miserable as I am. So I'm going to ignore it because I shouldn't feel this way. The author Lloyd Gottlieb talks about a hierarchy of pain. Yeah. Right. So other people have it worse. So I should dismiss how I feel.
I believe they also call that the Trauma Olympics.
Yeah. And the Trauma Olympics, it's exactly that way.
Yeah.
But I finally just got so miserable that it just didn't matter anymore. I should feel better, shouldn't feel better. I'm fucking miserable and want to die. That I have to deal with this if I want to live, and I wanted to live a little more than I wanted to die. And so I thought, okay, let's just try this. But I think at the root of it is I was really scared of what would happen if I took full responsibility for my life. If I didn't blame this on my parents, if I sat here and was, counted all the ways that I had been hurt and this wasn't my fault and I'm not to blame, and that felt a lot more comfortable and safe than now what am I going to do about it? Yeah. And I don't mean this like in a harsh way, at all, to people who've been through big T trauma, little T trauma. I really don't. I understand deeply how horrible it is to go through something that really messes with your soul and your entire sense of self-worth. I do. Yeah. And the other side where you own all this stuff happened to me. all of it happened. And now it's my responsibility to do something with it.
Mm.
It is a far easier life. It is you're reminded of your own agency. You're reminded that you're not doomed. You can really change lots of your circumstances. And of course, there's systematic oppression. There's inequity that is mind-bogglingly terrible. That all exists. And unless you can wave a magic wand today and fix all those things, you really can't. That can't be the reason you don't work on yourself. Both things have to happen. And honestly, if we want to change bigger systems, a lot of us need to be a lot more healthy and resilient in order to be able to do that anyways. So to be an adult for me is simply to own your story, take responsibility for it, and decide, make a real choice about how you want to show up in the world.
Yeah. What I really appreciate about your books and you and your story is because if anyone walked up to me and said that to me on the street, I'd say, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you. That's so annoying. Why would you say that to me? You
fuck
ass?
you. I want to live in the pain of my story. I want to exist there. I want to stay in my identity as a victim. I mean, I did for so many years.
Yeah.
And part of taking the accountability of our own life means that we're going to have to make contact with the pain that we have otherwise been avoiding.
Yes.
And what I love about your book and you and your story is you say, I did it, and it really is better on the other side. I promise you that.
I promise. I really can promise. And it's not even, if you can't take my word for it, what about every significant philosopher that you respect? Think about even let's take a big thing like Buddha. What is that all about? It is about touching your suffering, owning it, and moving through it. Yeah. There's no shortcut with this stuff. And it's not even, we use the word trauma, but also I really like to use the word suffering because that's just a much more historic for all of humankind. Nobody gets to escape suffering.
No.
And, the more and more I do this work, and it's now essentially my life practice is to find tools, try to translate them in ideally a funny way so that you don't slap me in the street, I don't, because I'm not I'm in the mud too. I don't have the answers. I'm just trying out all the tools and trying to report back on which might work. But the more and more I do this, the more I see, oh shit, you actually do have to accept and allow and get to the deepest part of your suffering if you want to feel any self-compassion. And self-compassion, unfortunately, is a very big deal. If I could give everybody one hack, it would be, and this is so complicated, so many steps to it, but it's, can you accept and allow the things that happen to you in your own suffering? Because if you can, it's a lot easier to move through them, to be wise about them. It's all the rejection and resistance. I really, it's so annoying, but now I really, really know that when, Thich Nhat Hanh and you're fuck you, Thich Nhat Hanh, you're so
Thich Nhat Hanh.
what the fuck? You're so peaceful and joyful, how did, but when he's talking about these things, just hello, sweetheart, accepting and allowing, it's oh, fuck. It's because it works.
Yeah.
Not because he wants to be annoying.
Yeah. Although we do sell merch on the Gently Used Human that says, fuck you, Thich Nhat Hanh. That's my favorite t-shirt we have.
Fuck you, Thich Nhat Hanh, my hero.
My hero. I want to take a moment to give a loud shout out to the Embody Lab, which is one of the most incredible resources for body-based and somatic therapies. This show is all about healing, and the Embody Lab does exactly that. Whether you're on your own journey of transformation and discovery, or enhancing your skill sets in your career as a coach or a therapist, a body worker, or really any career where you are supporting other gently used humans, the Embody Lab is your place for deep, inspiring, and impactful workshops, certificates, masterclasses, and an incredible community of like-minded folks. I love the Embody Lab. And so do so many other people that call it a platform to come home to over and over again. The Embody Lab is giving my listeners an exclusive offer, a one-time 10% off code to enhance your embodied well-being. All you have to do is go to theembodylab.com and use the code GentlyUse10 at checkout. I think some of the confusion is that when we take acceptance or accountability or responsibility, we assume that it comes with, this is my fault. Like at the core of it, it comes with the shame.
I'm to blame.
I'm to blame. When it's, I'm not to blame for the big T's or the small T's or the suffering per se, although sometimes we do contribute to our own suffering too.
Totally.
And the accountability, the responsibility, the adulting here is to say, this has happened.
Totally.
This has happened. Not I am because of this.
Yes.
Why this happened, or it's all them, or it's all me, or any of that. It's, this has happened, and I'm with it, and I'm taking the acknowledgement of its presence in my being, and I'm also saying, and now what?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's like the most important part of this whole thing is you're not making a story where someone is to blame and it's their fault, even with my own parents. And this took a long time, but I don't blame them. They clearly were in very bad shape themselves. I have a lot of compassion because now that all my, best friends have kids and I'm like the auntie to like, I don't know, 10, 12 little ones, right? And when I interact with them, to see how my parents interacted with me and what feels natural for me with a child, it's shocking that my parents would have treated me that way. You'd have to be in such bad shape to neglect this beautiful little sunshine muffin that's a defenseless child. I mean, you really have to be pretty far gone in your own stuff. And I feel tears welling up just because the pain that you would have to be in, the prison of a mind that you would have to live within is horrendous. And with my own parents, I just feel bad for them, because I got to escape that prison. And they really, my dad has done a lot of work and he's in a much better place than he was. I don't really want to speak for my mom, but when and she was like straight up abusive. So I feel a little more comfortable talking about it. But again, I don't want to tell her story. But in my mind, she never got to live. She was never in the world making loving connections and joy. And I've done enough work to know I'm awesome. And she didn't get to have a relationship with me. I could have given her so much love and she didn't get that.
I can imagine, as for some or many of us, and what seems so strange is that love is terrifying.
Yeah, totally.
Love becomes coupled with danger.
Yes.
And it sparks this fast engine of survival responses that look and sound like absolute abuse or neglect or all these fucked up things. And it's so hard to be on the receiving end. And I so appreciate your work in the way of like you being on the receiving end of that and still piercing through the veil of behavior to see the underlying pain that was so prevalent.
And I have to, and thank you for seeing that. That really touched me. But I have to say it took a long time and it took all these practices. I was giving a speech in California maybe 2 weeks ago, and a woman got up and she said, I had a really abusive childhood similar to yours. It was awful. And I started journaling and I started doing gratitude lists and I started treating my body with respect and it worked and I felt so much better. But then my work got kind of crazy and so I fell off. Is there an easier way to do all of this?
Is there?
No.
Just so we're clear.
No. I was like, I love you so much and no. emphatically no. But the trick is your life now that you're back in your rut, that much easier? Like, are you having that good of a time? And or are you feeling more and more friction, like your life is out of alignment, your days are full of dread? You know, the real thing is just all these self-care habits. You need structure, routine, make it easy on yourself. And once you do that, for me, you know, it's a lot. Everything I talk about is super basic, and it's not like I invented any of these things. I just have my own
Wait, you
point of
didn't
view.
invent self-care?
No,
What?
but no, I did not. I wish. I wish I was like did the first self-care candle or something, like a rose all day banner, and then you know,
Rose all day was the first self-care poster ever.
Yeah, which is like, oh man, we've got problems.
Or the Garfield posters from when we were kids. That was the first self-care. Oh, and, Monday.
Yeah, just hanging on.
Just hanging on.
Okay, great. It's the not to go too far on a tandem, but I always loved the Kathy comics.
Oh yeah,
which is like not till I've had my coffee.
Do those still exist as Kathy comics?
I don't know, but I actually went to school for playwriting and was weirdly obsessed with like Kathy and Garfield and Anna Nicole Smith. These were all in the same wheelhouse for me. And so
I love that Anna Nicole Smith. I just see Anna Nicole Smith hanging from a window with Garfield.
Yeah. Might as well, because it was like her life was so cartoonish at the time, I think. Like it was so melodramatic and big. Yeah. All these things, like I love pop culture. I love like stupidity at a 10. Yeah. So it's just funny. I hadn't thought about Kathy in a while. And now I'm like, oh yeah, all these things. Yeah. But way not to do with capital T trauma at all. But it really, I do want to just acknowledge that it is so hard to make the choice to own your own story.
Yeah.
It's so hard to let go of blame. It's so hard to forgive. And if you just take off the table that you need a timeline, you know, if you accept and allow, like this shit's going to take a long time. It's not going to be easy, but why am I so obsessed with my life being easy?
Yeah.
You know, because it does have a feeling of ease. However, what I've noticed is the more and more I step, you know, another word that's becoming like much bigger, but I really believe in is alignment. The more and more my actions are aligned with my values, the easier everything gets. Yeah. So I don't want to discourage anybody because it is a much easier life, much more gleeful, happy, easy life. And it's the only way. So I'm so sorry. But I mean, it's the only way to live a life. Because what else are you doing? Living somebody else's story, reacting to things that happened to you in the past forever. You know, I write, you know, that which you do not deal with deals with you. And T-shirt. You, right? I need to make some merch. Rose all day. That which you do not deal with. Mine is like so dark. No one would buy my merch. I'm like, this is hard.
I mean, I've seen some pretty dark merch out there. Like, I don't know if you remember, like, what was that store that we used to shop in at like malls when we were kids? It was like the super goth store.
Hot Topic?
Hot Topic. Yeah. I don't know what Saint Sabrina is. Oh, that was like another version of that. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. They had some merch like that back in the day.
Like a t-shirt with the FedEx logo, but instead of FedEx, it says Fed Up.
Exactly. You're a merch machine.
I got it. The more we talk, the more I'm like, I got to cash in on this. Mine will be, this is all hard. Get in touch with your suffering. Is there an easier way? No.
But it's on a linen t-shirt.
Yes, but it's high quality. Cashmere,
cashmere.
This costs $700.
That's like spiritual gangster shit.
Yeah. Oh, man. Don't even get me started. Although if someone
No, I
wants to
want to
gift
get you
me,
started.
I know. By the way, I also was like, if someone wants to gift me like an $800 cashmere skull and crossbones spiritual gangster thing, I'll wear it every day.
We'll wear the
Every
shit at
day.
that. Y'all, we are
All day.
influencers and we will wear that
Wear
crazy
it.
ass shit. Don't
I
we?
will.
Speaking of values.
Yeah. Speaking of, I wish I could sell out. Just no, I would. Nobody's offered me the opportunity to sell out. I'd be so far gone instantly. Like, yeah, sure. What do you want me to post? That's okay. I have a price.
How do you, speaking of values, how do you come in contact with your values? I'm not even sure, sitting here right now, I could even list off my values. Like, I'm sure they're
Yeah.
there, but I'm not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's foundational. I teach a lot of workshops. I also have my own mastermind, which we ended up calling a coven, but we do nothing witchy.
I love a good coven.
But we are a coven. We are a coven. And pretty much the first thing I talk about, or one of the first things, is a values filter.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no values. So that's where I'm coming from. My only value was external validation and money.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just taught that if you didn't have money, you weren't like basically a human. You didn't deserve anything. You weren't lovable. Your whole being was, do you have money? And that created so many issues around money, worth. Obviously, it was not good. And so in my reparenting, I asked, what are values and should I have any? And what might those be? And those I just Googled. I like literally Googled, what are values? Which one should I have?
I love that. What did Google tell you?
It gave like lists, different values. Like you may consider honesty, generosity, all these ones. I was like, oh, and these are interesting. And one of my first just realizations, just looking at the Google search results was, oh, I don't have this stuff in me. This is not natural. I see generosity. I always use generosity as the example because it's the one that's most alive for me.
Yeah.
In that I was not generous, even a little bit. But that sounded like something I might want to be, like and I thought a lot about like, when I die, what do I want people to say? How do I want them to have remembered my impact on them? And that kind of originally drove me to choose a bunch of values. I chose 10 of values, but under each value, and I wrote them down in my journal. Yeah. And then under each value, I came up with an action step towards bringing that value to life in my real life. Okay. So to this day, whenever I think about a tip, or should I, this happened last night. Went to 2 locations with my best friend. The first location, we spent more money than the second. Should I just gift her the Kobe beef sliders? Should this just be on me? First thought, no. Second thought, of course. I always challenge myself every single day to be more generous than I just would. And the result is I am a generous person. But it didn't come about because of some pre-programmed value, or I just thought it would be nice. It turns out you have to go practice this in the real world. And so what I ask people to do is to come up with 4 values that act as a filter, so that everything in your life, should I take this job? Should I make that plan? How should I handle this conflict with a friend? You look at your 4 values and ask, is this in alignment? Does this make sense? So I'm trying to think of, somebody asked me on a date, but I knew them to be kind of like unkind. Well, if my values are kindness, and he was like a big partier. So if my values are kindness and health, if those are 2 of it, no, this is not going to work. It just, I don't even have to start spinning a story about, well, you should give them a chance and da-da-da-da-da. No, if their values aren't aligned, I'm telling you, it's not going to work for basically anything. Yeah. And sometimes you have to take a job, right, that is not aligned with your values. Fine, but you should know that. You should walk in knowing this is not aligned with my values. And it's easy. You just make I make like a little cross. You know the New York Magazine highbrow, lowbrow index thing?
Yeah,
I don't know why
quite
that's my
understood
reference.
it, but yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
well, just the graphic, just the you draw a line down a piece of paper, then another horizontal line.
Yeah, vertical then horizontal.
Exactly. And I just put what are those values in those 4 quadrants.
Yeah.
And I think about it every day. And the key to it is spend a fuck ton of time deciding those values. So in my coven, people get annoyed because they're like, this is hour 10 of these fucking values. Like, why are we continuing to do this? And it's because when your mind starts to question the values. So let's take that guy, for example. And I'm like, well, but he's really cute. And wouldn't it just be fun if I went out and got a drink? I'm like, no, bitch, look at your values. No, you spent 10 hours that you didn't want to spend going over your values. Like, you actually know this to be true. So shut the fuck up and don't go on the date. So that's how I work.
I hope that's one of like the scripts in the coven is it starts with no bitch, look at your values. And my values are ...
Yeah. No, it's important. Like, that's how I, speaking of like fuck Thich Nhat Hanh, like I am not somebody sitting on a cushion with patchouli burning. I'm like, how the fuck do I live a life that doesn't actively kill me? And really, a values filter seems so simple, but I actually don't think that you just have values. I really think it's an active practice. And once you do it, everybody I've ever done this tool with has been like blown away within a month.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh shit, I'm living in alignment.
Yeah. Well, I always think of values as a reference point to ourself. So if I'm checking in with my values in that way, I'm always identifying, locating myself. And the more I'm located in myself, the more I'm existing in life.
Totally. And making active choices about what do you prioritize.
Yeah.
Because we need to prioritize our time very badly. And a values filter is like that's a hack towards like, well, what matters to you? Yeah. When you say values, that really just means, what do I value above everything else? What do I prioritize? Which is very different than beliefs, which basically don't matter. I don't.
What?
Yeah, throw away your beliefs. Well,
help us define the difference before I throw away.
Yeah, a belief
my sacred
is
beliefs. No,
sacred beliefs. My sacred beliefs.
Super sacred, kept in the treasure trove.
So you have 70,000 thoughts a day. Fully 80% are negative, and 90, right? It's amazing. Yeah. And 90 negative, right? And then does this check out? 95% of all thoughts are repetitive loops. So we're all kind of having a bad day in our brains. That just is what it is, right? Yeah. And I could get much more nerdy about the default mode network and how these different systems operate in your brain, blah, blah. Trust me on that.
She just go with me. Out, y'all. She has nerded out.
I just dropped some terms, some jargon. So just now trust me. That's how every professional does.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it works. So there you have it. But what is fueling all that? Many, many negative beliefs about ourselves. Literally last night with my best friend, I am just that way. I know that about myself. I'll always be this way. I'll always have this belief. Is that true? You're always going to have this belief? Is it true that you're always a certain way? When people say, I'm just an anxious person. Really? Like 100% of the time you are an anxious person, or sometimes you have a chill day off. We end up concocting these stories about who we are almost to make our behavior make sense. So if I'm an anxious person, if I'm experiencing anxiety and I'm going to make meaning of that, I'm just an anxious person, which makes you more anxious, which makes that your number one coping mechanism, which makes you believe that you're anxious. We get stuck in these thought loops about who we are and what the world is.
It sounds like those beliefs are kind of imprisoning.
Yeah. Yes. The reason, and I think I understand that it's kind of contrarian to say throw away your beliefs, but if you really think about it,
Mm-hmm.
why are you wedded? And that doesn't mean something like, it's getting really specific. Like like I could say I believe in justice, but another
Mm-hmm.
way to say that is one of my values is justice and equity. And, those are my values. I prioritize those. I prioritize being with people who also value those things. My own work in the real world, I value it. It's not really like a belief. Like my beliefs are kind of more malleable. And
Yeah.
again, many of us have been very lied to,
Mm-hmm.
and then we think it's a belief, but it was a lie that nobody believed in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So why are
Mm-hmm.
now you 40 years later believing that you're worthless, believing you're unlovable, believing that money is the only key to success? Those things were never true, but
Yeah.
now they are bedrock. So
Yeah.
I'm being a little hyperbolic, but it's just be more malleable.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something even because I was going to be a devil's advocate for a second, and then I devil advocated my devil advocacy. And I was going to say, well, what if the belief is I'm a happy person? And then I was like, oh, but that's a limited belief, even in and of itself. It's like, then when I'm not, I'm already in dissonance with my belief. And then I'm in the dissonance, which is chaotic and maybe depressing.
This sounds so cheesy, but one thing I've been thinking to myself a lot is just like enjoy the adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. It's all happening.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, in my own mind, be limiting myself to I am this kind of person. I can be any kind of person. I think because change helped me so much, I radically changed basically everything about my life. I don't fear it. And not only do I not fear it, I don't want to be stuck. I want to evolve. I want to keep growing. And if you think something like, I'm a happy person, I'm an anxious person, if you're labeling yourself anyway, any kind of way, it makes it very hard we don't want to be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what if though you actually dug under your anxiety and you found out you're furious? Not anxious at all, but you're furious.
Fucking furious.
Yeah. Which is what I realized. I was like, oh shit, this isn't anxiety at all. I'm furious at things that were out of my control, the way I was treated. And once I could tap into the fury and express fury in healthier ways, I was no longer anxious. But if I need to hang on to my anxious identity, if that's become so wedded to who I am, it becomes harder to heal.
Yeah.
So I just say question your beliefs. You do not have to believe your beliefs. You have 70,000 thoughts a day. You have a plethora of beliefs. Like, what if you played a little looser with them?
Loosey-goosey beliefs.
Loosey-goosey beliefs.
That's what I always said on my T-shirts.
But very in touch with your values.
Yeah.
So it's not just, everybody free for all. Like, let's take shrooms and go to Ojai or I don't know, like a spiritual learning center. It's like, what do you value though? Because that's really important.
Shrooms, clearly.
Shrooms. Man, I'm too afraid to take drugs. But that's a totally other subject.
I have to say, I've been very afraid, and I tried it for the first time on my 40th birthday, even though I'm only 30. And
of course, I'm only 35. Always.
Wink, wink, wink.
Yeah.
I have to say, it didn't go as most people would expect or as I expected. Like all the things that like supposedly come with psilocybin and stuff like that, like it was the opposite for me. Like so don't hold beliefs on that drugs are going to get you to another more helpful altered state.
By the way, thank you for saying that because it's very unpopular to even like we're in a weird zone where like if you even question drug use, people are like, yeah, but this was an ancient thing that we've been doing forever. And a John Hopkins study said XYZY. I'm like, cool. Like, did you read the study though? Like, first off, what are you talking about? Second off, can you have a conversation? What?
And third off, did the study extract elements of it, but not the whole of it.
Yeah.
Because
totally.
like when we're talking about indigenous traditions that include psychedelic use, they had a lot of preparatory process and a lot of integration. And the psychedelic was actually a tiny fraction of the entire ceremonial journey of self-discovery, healing.
Thank you. That's very important.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about it that way, but it was these were rituals that you were in a community. There were like 50,000 other factors. That's like such a good, and
so
I
many
don't,
other factors.
I don't
and
want to,
I've been part of that research, so I also can speak directly
the John Hopkins. Were you at John Hopkins?
John Hopkins. No, not that one. But yeah.
But do you know what I'm talking about? People was like, but at John Hopkins. And I'm like, wait, were you there? Like, you're talking about it like you lived there. Did you though? Did you know John himself?
Do you know Dr. Hopkins?
Yeah, I do. He's on my Christmas greeting card list. I'm also Jewish, so it's not a thing.
You can still have a Christmas. Don't hold that belief system that just because you're Jewish doesn't mean you're...
Total side note, but I thought to be respectable that I would have a Christmas card, and even though I'm single, and I was like, I'm gonna have but it's gonna be funny. And the year was it was going into 2020, and I sent out this Christmas card that said, "Let's make 2020 our bitch."
How'd that go for you?
Never again. That was the first and last Christmas card I ever sent.
Oh my gosh.
I brought it upon us.
I was going to say you are the dawning of the apocalypse.
I am the one who jinxed us. It's true. I learned my lesson, very humbled by the experience.
This show is also brought to you by the absolutely stunning and powerful tools of transformation that are created by Omala. Oof, even the name Omala transports you to a place of flow and vitality. These are some of my favorite products ever. They have an amazing color-changing yoga mat that responds to your temperature and presence and reflects back your posture in real time. There's this incredible smelling skin balm candle that heats up to activate all the essential oils and vitamins that your skin has been craving. I mean, look, if I could live in a giant bath of this candle, I would 100% do it. They also have these journals that lead you into profound insight, and then you get to plant those journals to create a stunning flower garden. What? I mean, if that's not deep and inventive, I don't know what is. If you're someone who desires to live a luxurious flow of life and who believes in transformative wellness, then you have to check out Omala. Omala is giving my listeners an exclusive discount to treat yourself to something that is as special as you, boo. All you have to do is go to omala.com, that's OMALA.com, and use the code DrScott10 at checkout. And a portion of every purchase goes to an incredible charity. You got this. In terms of the timeline of your life, how did you navigate like taking the path of like following your passions, tough careers, and self-care? Because this is like a Goldilocks situation that I think most of us have no idea how to balance.
Yeah. Because
getting your ideal aligned, even like self-actualized job still takes a shit ton of energy and attention.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know
does. That. Yeah. I mean, nobody will like the answer. Perfect. It's not
Sell
popular.
That on a t-shirt first.
Yeah. Right? Truly, I literally start most of my workshops with most of this will be depressing. Like, hang in there. But, you know, I also will say something else unpopular. I wrote my first book, Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies. Like, so I had the Google document, but a messy 600-page notes fest of crying and, oh my God, realizations does not a book make.
Oh.
You know, right? Like, I couldn't just be like, hey, publish this mess. It took things like, you know, I think it's a good book, and it took a lot of skill to actually be able to craft it into something.
Yeah.
And I did that every morning before work for 3 years.
Mm.
And I did all the healing as I managed an extremely stressful, high profile Hollywood job.
Are we allowed to talk about that job?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
So
But
this was when you
yeah.
were at Comedy Central.
Comedy Central. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
worked at Comedy Central for 12 years.
Yeah.
I never had another job. I was like a 1950s like car manufacturer. I was like loyal to the company.
You were
You know?
super loyal because you got in as an intern and somehow
Yeah.
became the VP.
Yeah. I just stayed. I was like, I'm gonna ride this. But you would think that we were curing cancer, the amount of stress and urgency. There was a period of time where I woke up reliably at 4 a.m. just to panic. Just to panic.
Just have enough time to panic.
Just
before
have
work?
enough time to panic about this one show that I was getting off the grounds. I was extremely anxious about this job, right?
Yeah.
Because it fed into my external validation. I have a lot of status in this job. I'm fancy, therefore I matter,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. So all the self-care had to happen at the same time that I was 10 out of 10 dedicated to my job, constantly freaking out about it, giving it my all. Both things had to happen at the same time. And so basically, I always try to say, like, I'm not a special person. There is no reason that this should have worked for me other than if you take the time and do it right. Like, if you do authentic self-care, which is not a trip to Tulum, like
But
I love Tulum. I mean, if you want to take me to Tulum, I'll say yes, but it's not.
I want you to go to Tulum in a spiritual gangsta cashmere $2,000 t-shirt.
Yeah, on somebody's private jet, which I've never been on.
That's like the only treat they give you is psilocybin.
Oh my God.
No, fuck
this
pistachios.
Journey.
It's psilocybin.
Yeah. I love it. I need to live this life. But it's not as hard. So I spend all this time being like, it's hard. But that's just so to level set expectations that there are so many snake oil salesmen, so many who are like, if you do this one life hack, everything will be perfect. Or, and I'm just sitting there like, holy shit, this is bad. So I want to just set expectations, and it's not as hard as it seems.
Yeah.
Everybody can get up 5 minutes earlier and write down how they're feeling. Like affect labeling, for example. Yeah. So I have an emotion wheel in my second book, Glow in the Fucking Dark, where I really tried to make, I know. Again, the third book will not have a fuck in the title.
I think the third book should just be called Fuck Now.
Yeah, fuck. This is like
fuck.
No
strapline, just fuck.
Just fuck, nothing else. But like, if you were to wake up 5 minutes earlier, get out your journal and just write, here's how I'm feeling today. Furious, grateful, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you're feeling, there is extremely compelling science that act alone makes you feel better, is a stress reliever. I know from working with many thousands of people, at this point, hundreds of thousands of people have read these books and reported back on what they've done, that it centers people. It helps them know themselves better. It gives them more self-awareness. Self-awareness and pause are always part of any healing journey. So when the thing to do, and this is like the bedrock of everything that I work on, is it's small, teensy little interventions done over and over and over, like repetitively. And you just add to that, because if we wanted to get into jargon land again, neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to change and rewire itself, all the science tells us this is how to build a lasting habit, right? And my own corporate executive hell experience also taught me sometimes I might only have 5 minutes. And I want people to have wins. Yeah. Like if you can win at waking up 5 minutes earlier and doing affect labeling, for like 3 weeks, the pride you feel, then the natural effects of feeling better because you're talking about how you feel, like it all becomes a virtuous cycle. When you get off the cycle, it is not easy to get back on. It's not as easy as I might wish. Thus the girl asking the question. Like she knows this shit works. Like it's her lived experience, and it's hard to get back on. But that's why you do little intervention after little intervention, because there's no like work-life balance. Like you get a life. You don't get like a separate honeypot for work, So you kind of have to figure out. I never understood the work-life balance thing because my job was so consuming. I just was like, well, these two things need to merge, and there needs to be enough time for me not to be fucking panicked every moment. So that's, so I think that's not an answer anybody wants to hear, is basically like do both things at the same time. But that is what I ended up living, and I did not have a crystal store. I was not in Sedona lighting feathers on fire. I was in a large American. Yeah, but I do have a coven now. Yeah.
So I made up for lost time.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I like meditating. Now I'm fucking annoying. But then I was just a corporate cog, Do
you miss any of it?
No. No. The only thing I miss is being able to give people shots. Meeting a young comedian who has a great point of view and giving them their first opportunity to do something that I miss. You walk away from it and I'm like, wait, what was I so stressed out about? A fart joke? Because that's literally what it was. Like, are you kidding me?
Did you have to decide if it would stay in or not?
Yeah, that was part of my job, was giving notes. I ran, so on behalf of the network, I oversaw all aspects of production on shows like Key and Peele, if you've ever saw it with Jordan Peele, and a David Spade's show. And so there's like very high budget, 20 million, whatever, big budget, lots and lots of people working on it. And you're overseeing every aspect of that for a conglomerate that wants profits, wants ad dollars, So I really can say that it's possible to incorporate these self-care tools even in a very high stress job. So there. That's my other t-shirt, because everyone loves to be told, so there. Highly motivating.
Yeah. So told you so.
Told you so. There. And no, nothing. None of this is. There's no hack. I'm so sorry. I actually am sorry about that.
I know. Me too. I wish there was. I mean, I remember back in the day when I was in my 20s. So last week, and it was really like hot to trot to talk about like mental health hacking. I'm sure it still is now.
Yeah. It's still a thing.
And I participated in it. I was like, here's the mental hack. Although the shit I would do was so weird that people are like
what?
I think I like like one of my mental, or like the hacks I did was on control, for example. And like I would have people like tighten their fist really tight and like and then try to just open up their hand from that tightness, and they couldn't. Like it's so much effort in maintaining the tightness over time that we become acclimated to it.
Right.
And so and then I would have them place a hand over that fist, and I'd say, and take some moments to feel the support of the other hand, and what's it like to open into the support as opposed to just trying to open from the tightness. So you're like in reference, like it was that type of very somatic based stuff that people were like, you're too weird.
Yeah.
And now it's all the rage.
I know. I mean, it's all extremely important, and I think these are shortcuts. If somebody's using real language, like clear language, to show you something that really does work, I guess you could call that a hack.
Yeah, maybe.
The part about like hacks that I don't love is that it's going to get you to some destination tomorrow. What is even the destination?
Well, that's what I was yeah, I wanted to talk to you about the destination because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, there's the wellness industry is a multi-trillion-dollar industry now, right?
Yeah.
And like we have all these ideas and these hacks and these books and da 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 da, but it's like, what is it that everyone's expecting we get to? I mean, you've
Yeah.
written
It's a
two
good
books that
question.
fall into the wellness industry world,
Hmm.
technically. And it's like then I might go, okay, are you a big ball of fucking joy? And that's now you like and live a perfect life. And so is that what we're aspiring to?
No, and I think it's a really good point. What I aspire to is not to waste my life.
Mm, appreciate that.
And that's the end, you
Yeah.
know? You
Yeah.
were here, so now what?
Mm,
And I don't even, do I prefer not to suffer? Do I prefer not to feel grief? Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Um, but again, like the one big hack would be
Yeah.
accepting and allowing everything, that this is all a part of what it is to be alive.
Mm,
And the more I'm loose with that and can kind of like move through it,
yeah.
I don't want to, and I don't want to waste any suffering either. Like if
Mm,
I'm going to fucking suffer, I'm going to eke some lesson, something out of it.
yeah.
Like the main difference I see in myself, first off, I lived in hell, in a
Hmm.
prison of limiting beliefs, severe, like suicidal ideation, like the whole goddamn thing.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was, so I was in prison.
Yeah.
I'm not in prison at all anymore.
Hmm.
I feel like
Hmm.
I'm flying in the clouds, something cheesy like that. But the main, really main difference is it's not that upsetting things don't happen and that I don't get upset.
Yeah.
It's my ability to step back, gain a little perspective,
Hmm.
and get on with my life in a wise way, which doesn't mean not dealing with something. Again, I still have to deal with whatever is upsetting me, but do I need to add a list of judgments? Do I need to add a bunch of fear for the future? Like, it's really more how I relate now. Like, my childhood can't be undone.
Hmm.
It is forever the way it was. Like,
Hmm.
I've got no hope of rewriting the past. And my entire relationship, it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean my parents were bad people. It doesn't mean I'm limited. It doesn't mean any of these things that I used to think it meant. It
Yeah.
just means it happened. It did shape a lot of who I am. And I don't want to waste my life. So I think the destination, we hear over and over and over again, the process is the destination.
Yeah.
We don't really believe it.
No,
Like,
fuck no.
yeah, we're like,
Not at all. Oh
no,
yeah. Whoa,
yeah,
whoa.
sure. And yet,
Yeah.
when we sit with ourselves,
Yeah.
it's like if you can make the process somewhat enjoyable,
Hmm.
I think that's a wiser, perhaps, way to look at it.
Yeah.
That, okay, if I'm going to have to be on a journey,
Yeah.
what's the wisest way to be on a journey? And
Yeah.
I also don't know how long I've got to be on this journey. So if I
Yeah.
really wanted to live it, like
Yeah.
I want to live,
Yeah.
doesn't mean I want to be joyful all the time. Doesn't mean I want to avoid anything. It just means I want to like live fully this life.
Yeah.
And so if you let that, something around whatever, is important to you, those are the things that are important to me. If you live around that, this is a life work. There is no then I'll, if I do all this healing, then I'll be happy. No way. Nothing
Yeah.
works that way. And
Mm,
I agree that I think getting a little more clear on that, you can also forgive yourself much more easily. Like, it's funny. A big thing I get is, oh my God, I didn't journal today. I feel terrible because I didn't meditate and I didn't journal. I didn't have time to do this. Like, wait a minute. These tools were there to give you safety, structure, and introspection, not yet another thing to punish yourself for.
mm. Please stop weaponizing yourself with the tools that are there to
I,
support you.
this is wild,
Yeah.
and again, it's like the practice is accepting and allowing, oh wow, I just got very lost in self-criticism over journaling. Can I laugh at that? Can I have some perspective and be like, it's okay, sweetheart, like you'll journal tomorrow, this is not a biggie.
Yeah. I'm just, as you were talking, it reminded me of First of all, I wanted to say just thank you for that. Like, I think it's such an important thing to dissect of like, what are we moving towards? Because fuck, we're putting all this effort in, all this energy
Yeah.
in, all this money in, because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. That's
unfortunately
real.
it's coming. It's part of the process. And even if I don't want it to be, and all these things, and it's like, but what am I gonna get?
Yeah.
Like,
To
what's
what
the
end?
promise? Because I
Yeah.
need something to look forward to as I'm in the hellscape of healing.
Yeah.
I remember because before COVID, I was traveling about 10 months of the year, traveling the world teaching.
Wow.
A lot of contemplative practice, a lot of psychology and therapy, and people would ask me like, what's the point of doing this? Like,
Mm.
what is the promise I get? And I was like, well, I don't know what the promise is. I can tell you, for me, I'm that much. And I would show with my fingers a little space between them.
Hmm.
I'd say I'm that much less of an asshole, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I could
Yeah.
give. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's the same thing of like, I get to feel more of life.
Yeah. And for each of us, I guess, it's different. And for me, it's a matter of life or death.
Mm,
I don't want to waste my life.
yeah.
I do not want to be on my deathbed thinking about all the things I could have done, should have done differently. And I was a prisoner to my emotions,
Yeah.
and I wasn't leading like a thoughtful life. And so I say like, yeah, whatever. You don't journal one day, journal the next. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And it's life or death.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And yeah,
especially
you know what I
as
mean?
yeah, well, especially as I hear how much you fought to live.
Yeah. And I really do, for other people, for me, this is like a literal thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's why I feel it so emphatically and passionately. And it's now my like life work. It's
Yeah.
just anybody who's ever felt that way, it's such an awful soul level bad, terrible, that if one thing I could do would be to just help people from that place, then my whole life would have been worthwhile.
Mm. And thank you for doing all the work you're doing and writing your books. Buy yourself the fucking lilies. I will buy myself the fucking lilies.
Do it. Whatever
I
your lilies are to you, buy them.
They're like, the gingers. I like the gingers, the tropical gingers. Those are my lilies.
Beautiful. And they
Oh,
change. Yeah,
yeah.
please tell me.
The song that came out where it's I can buy myself flowers.
Yes.
It makes me think. I was like, you guys should do a duet together.
Don't worry, I've tried. The
Good.
moment it came out, I was like, Miley, but what
Miley,
about
what
me
you up
though?
to?
Yeah. Did you know I wrote this book 4 years ago?
Did she respond?
No reply.
Oh, she'll get there.
Yeah. She'll read the DM, I'm
She'll
sure.
read that DM eventually. Or listen
Yeah.
to this podcast, because I know she does.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
Truly, you never know.
Yeah. But thank you for writing your books. Buy yourself the fucking lilies and glow in the fucking dark. And your third book coming out soon. Fuck. Just fuck.
And then it's just a blank book that says, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know.
You write in here. You try to do this.
Could you
That's my third
imagine
book.
the absolute journal? It's called Fuck, and it's just blank pages. As like the next wellness journal is
That's
just
actually not a bad idea. Just as like a piece of merch, is the journal is called Fuck.
Yeah.
And then it's just blank. And then at like some page is like, yeah, does suck.
Just super validating statements. Like,
Yeah.
That's
I know. I wish it weren't that way.
Yeah.
I too. Wish it were different.
My love, thank you so much. Where can people find you and hang out with you and join your coven? I just like saying coven. It is coven. Really great.
That's how it came to be, simply because it was a good word. It was a catchy word to say.
It is super catchy. You better market the shit out of that word.
Yeah. Oh man, my least favorite. Totally different topic. But I have a newsletter where if folks sign up, I'll just send you all these tools for free. Like, yes, I'd prefer you bought the book, but also for the love of God, look at an emotion wheel and do affect labeling. Please, 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 please. So here you are, which you can just sign up for at taraschuster.com. A pop-up menu that everybody loves will like go across the screen. You put your email or click newsletter or Google Tara Schuster newsletter. But that's like the best way, or Tara Schuster on Instagram. But the newsletter, I like talk to folks there. And if the coven only happens twice a year, so that's where I talk about it. But it's actually like a quite beautiful community. It's ridiculous. But here's the good news. It turns out there are so many people who earnestly want to heal and be good to other people that really, really do. And if you can find those people and cultivate those relationships and feel encouraged and encouraged, this shit takes a lot less time. So what I say is I'm like trying to make like one little not nightmare slice of the internet. Like that's the promise. It's not a nightmare.
I love that. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for your work. My friends out there, find Tara, get on her mailing list, read the books. They have the word fuck in them. If you don't know, if you can't remember the rest of them, just look up the word fuck, and I believe they will appear.
Tara Schuster fuck. And then
Tara Schuster fuck. And to my lovely and gently used humans out there, keep being you, my loves. We'll see you soon. Thank you for listening to the Gently Used Human podcast with Dr. Scott Lyons and friends. Visit gentlyused.com for fun extras, including submitting your questions for advice from a Midwestern mom. And don't forget to spill the tea and gossip about the show with all your friends and frenemies. And you know what? Show us some love by giving us 5 stars and leaving a review in your favorite apps. This helps us connect with all the other gently used humans out there. Oh, and by the way, you look fierce today.